What does it mean to be engaged in today's workplace? How do we inspire, inform, and connect a working community? How do we build a culture of irreplaceability, trust, and listening to keep people on board and rowing together? Welcome to Post-COVID Leadership Advice. This series is all about building a workplace culture where people feel heard, supported, informed, and connected. This is a roadmap for leaders at any level, at any organization.
Okay, new working models. Hybrid. This is a many-headed hybrid, hydra, meaning there's no one way that works for everybody. But if you're coming out of COVID, you will likely have a situation where not everybody is coming back to the office. This is kind of the way things are. Unless you mandate and you say, you must come to the office every single day or you're going to be fired, like some people and companies have done in the past, and this doesn't usually end well for those companies or those people who are mandating them. This builds an enormous amount of resentment among the working force, whether you are aware of it or not, because it signals your lack of trust in your working population. Usually you will have to deal with a hybrid situation. Now, within the spectrum of hybrid, there are a lot of options. So we're going to look at a few working models right now. So model one is full flexibility, where you say you come to the office, you don't come to the office, whatever you want. You figure it out as a team. You could come to the office, never. You could come to the office 3 days a week, 4 days a week, if that's what your team decides and if that's what is needed for the job. This allows a company, if there's never the expectation of somebody having to come into the office, it allows the company to tap into a fully remote workforce. More and more people are applying to jobs that offer full remote flexibility, which means they're coming in from Bora Bora, they're coming in from Chennai, they're coming in from South America, anywhere. It doesn't matter as long as they have a great internet connection, the tools that they need to connect, and the ability to connect with their colleagues on their time zone. Let's be correct about this. The time zone of the headquarter is the dominant time zone. It shouldn't matter. And this gives companies access to talent all over the world. This also means you have a lot more leverage in terms of salary. There are companies that don't even have headquarters anymore. They have deconstructed their physical office almost entirely and put it out to wherever the employees are. Now, this is fairly radical, but it does save a lot of money in terms of operational costs. You save on heating and air conditioning. You save on connectivity. You save on physical space. You save on lighting. Those costs are all externalized to the employees, which they're happy to pay for because they have that at home anyway. So if you're clever about this, you can really make an interesting model work financially if you choose the number one full flexibility option. Now, option two is called hubs and spokes. And this is a very interesting one. This means that a large company will partially deconstruct their central headquarters and invest in smaller satellite offices, usually closer to the neighborhood. This generally works if a company is located in a particular country and not a multinational. It's a little bit harder because where do you start? In what city do you have all your little mini hubs? Model 3, build it and they will come. Well, this is something like the hubs and spokes, but it actually requires investment into the physical office, the physical headquarters. So the idea is to reduce, just like the previous model, reduce into a smaller space and take the money that is being saved in rent, in all of these electricity, externalized costs now, and really invest in the location itself. So make it smaller, but great. Smaller nooks for taking calls. You have larger rooms to collaborate. You have a great cafe where people can just hang out and do their work or just talk. You have certain rooms with a view. You have certain rooms that allow access to the outdoors. So you make the space smaller, but a whole lot nicer. And then that is paired with a social media campaign that talks about how wonderful the space is. These two things are important, because if you don't advertise how great your space is and what your investments really look like, chances are people are not going to know about them. Then we have the model called remote light. So this is a bit more traditional. It means that they tolerate a bit of offsite work. So let's say they mandate, a certain company will mandate 3 days a week, and 2 days a week you have the option of working at home. Well, this is harder to mandate, but if you can make the case that your company values mandate proximity. And that's a very powerful case. We at Company X believe that we need to be physically together a certain number of days a week. And this is a powerful thing. And there's nothing wrong with that. And you get to say this up front as somebody's joining and say, hey, if you don't want to come in 3 days a week in this wonderful space where we have great people and we do cool stuff, then maybe this isn't the right place for you. And that's a really hard thing to say in this war for talent right now. But if that's where your company values are at, there's absolutely no shame in being really honest about that. And it creates a certain kind of atmosphere, a culture, a buzz that's unto itself without it being a mandated necessity. So you do tolerate a little bit of remote work, but in general, the expectation is that you appear at the office. This is not necessarily what everybody wants. It does also restrict access to external talent, so global talent that you can pull from that's fully remote that you never will see. It makes that a harder sell to your employees at the time. But it does give a certain vibe that is unmistakable.
Thank you for being a part of this episode. Subscribe, follow, so you never have to miss another one. These ideas are based on the Comic Books for Executive series. Go to postcovidhandbook.com.